How did we get here? How did I get here as a Pokemon fan? Who even am I? What am I? Where am I? Scarlet and Violet. Simply saying those two words brings out quite the reaction in fans. You will find that people either hate the games or adore them. And it's not like with Sword and Shield. In my opinion, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have one of the largest quality gaps I've ever seen. I felt my neck getting sore from the sheer whiplash effect of seeing something done so well in the game, then immediately being met with the worst lag I've ever experienced. I really just want to take a seat on this rock over here. This one specifically. You could see it right here on the map. And just analyze this game for all its pros and its cons, because I want to figure out where I stand on it definitively. Regardless of what people say, I think Scarlet and Violet are a blur of quality that cannot simply be deemed as good or bad. Look, I'ma be honest with you bros, I don't care how Pokemon games look at this point. If it looks good where it counts and performs as it should, I'm good. I can excuse the rest. But it doesn't even do that. This game has points where it looks comically bad. And yeah, the performance. Unless you're in a building, you're playing in slow motion. Now, is it unplayable? Not really, especially if you play off the dock. But when you want to play it on your actual television, this performance is unacceptable, honestly. It's cyberpunk levels of bad, and I'm shocked it doesn't crash more. I was actually recommended by my community to keep autosave on, and it was a good recommendation. So far, I've had only one crash, which is shocking, because I've seen a lot worse circulating on Twitter and YouTube. By every account, the fact that this game even exists at all is a miracle. It didn't have to be a miracle if it was delayed, giving the developers more time to refine and polish it, but it is a miracle nevertheless. Even though it felt like Game Freak might have been stretched thin for ideas after just releasing Legends Arceus, they did excellently with the characters and Pokemon. The Pokemon have lived up to the hype of what a new generation entails, and I'm glad. In fact, it was almost shocking how many Pokemon resonated with me this generation. All the Galar starters were done pretty well, all things considered. And you got Pokemon such as Tinkaton, who slammed her way into being an easy fan favorite. There's Mousehold, who is equal parts hilarious and adorable, and unlike Phalanx, can actually do some real damage with Population Bomb. I'm also a fan of Rabska, who took the idea of a Pokemon Dung Beetle to hilarious levels, while also innovating the entirely new move of being able to revive a fainted Pokemon. And don't even get me started on Smoliv, who has stubby legs and a hilarious expression. Peak design. It helps as well that every single Pokemon in this region is given a whole new life through the amazing textures that Game Freak created. That alone puts this generation in an entirely different ballpark than Generation 8. Going back and looking at the Pokemon, it's just crazy to see what Game Freak managed to pull off by comparison. Metallic finishes on Magnemite, grainy feeling Bonsly, it's incredible. I saw they were approaching this level of quality with Legends Arceus, but I never imagined they'd go this hard. It helps as well that Game Freak touched up poses and animations based on criticism, such as Lucario going into its signature fighting stance compared to him just standing there. Heck, even Salamence looks good. He's floating in style now. All this, as well as Pokemon randomly making noises either in mid-battle animations or after doing a certain attack of theirs, really makes this the most fulfilling and immersive Pokemon experience I've seen in a while. The only thing keeping the battles from reaching certain heights of greatness though, at least for some specific Pokemon, are what happened to their animations. Ugh, it physically pains me that Game Freak threw away the hours of work animating Pokemon to have incredible signature moves just to be thrown away for Scarlet and Violet. Now before you say it, it's not the devs being lazy. Or not entirely lazy anyway. The reason certain animations can't be used is due to the free camera this game introduces. Trainer battles have a fixed camera, but wild Pokemon battles don't, and thus moves would look terrible. Could they have worked around this? I think so, but we'll never know sadly. That being said, there's no excuse for Decidueye to not use the bow anymore. What is wrong with you, Game Freak? On average, I'd say battles are pretty good. They could be better, but they're pretty good. Now, it's time to open this can of earthworms, and it's not gonna be pretty, but Terastallization blows. To explain my reasoning, let's start from the beginning, okay? Terastallization is very similar to a previous Pokemon move called Hidden Power, and Hidden Power is the dumbest crap ever. I give it a pass in older generations due to how unbalanced battling still was, since Hidden Power could become a lifesaver for having a good move of a certain type. Like, it was required if you wanted to use a stronger ghost-type move that wasn't Lick. But after a while, Hidden Power was just cheap. The move essentially became a do-anything button. button. Want a 60 base power ground type move for your Lilligant that rounds out its type coverage perfectly? Hidden power. It became less about what Pokemon you were running and their weaknesses, and more about what sort of hidden power you could just pull out of nowhere. The only solace to be had with hidden power was that it wasn't actually that strong, making it pretty limited. Terastallization is hidden power going Super Saiyan. Not only do your Pokemon themselves become that type, but the moves they use are way stronger due to something called same type attack bonus. What this means is that you can have a Pokemon that isn't a fire type, yet knows flamethrower, suddenly nuke the opposing team if you Tera. It's a do anything button, and it makes battling Pokemon more luck-based than anything. Oh wow, that sucks that you had the most random Tera type that hits me for 4 times super effective damage from literally out of nowhere. Oh wow, that sucks that you gave yourself the best defensive typing in the game, preventing me from doing anything to your Pokemon.
Pokemon follow builds, and Tera types can be predicted easily.
I'm not used to you actually playing devil's advocate. You're usually just there for jokes.
I like to spice it up sometimes.
That's good. Variety is good. Anyway, no, I will not accept that logic. Because you want to know something about builds? You don't have to follow builds. In fact, the best Pokemon battlers in the world usually don't follow builds because builds are predictable. There's nothing promising me that your Hydreigon won't transform into a fire type. Maybe it wants to be a ground type. You're taking a risk by attacking a terastallized Pokemon regardless. You never know what it can be. It is overpowered as heck.
You can terastallize too.
I can, yeah, but two wrongs do not make a right. You're essentially spinning the wheel on your opponent having a good Tera type or a bad one. You can't rely on your knowledge of Pokemon to save you either. You can't win by studying the movesets or learning the extent of what that Pokemon can accomplish. Because all of a sudden, their Skeleturge can just become a reptilian Gardevoir that completely walls the Pokemon you had prepared for it. I'm aware that terastallization is being praised as fixing certain Pokemon that have bad typings. But is this really what we want? A finite way to make bad Pokemon into good Pokemon? Shouldn't bad Pokemon be fixed with updated abilities or new moves it can learn?
I think you might just hate fun, Treecko.
Oh, I don't hate fun. Terastallization in the PvE aspect is amazing. I love the idea that I can turn any of my Pokemon into something else. Allow my Crocodile to become a water Crocodile that gets more damage from Aqua Tail. And how it's utilized with the gym leaders is very fun as well. I adore the fact that the bosses in the game have Pokemon that are not their type specialty, but just fit their aesthetic. Grusha can have an Ice Altaria, Iono can have an Electric Mismagius, and Brassius' Sudowoodo can become truly Woodo. That is so fun! So in short, I love the gimmick when it comes to PvE, but when it comes to PvP, I cannot wait until it is retired and never used again.
So does that mean you prefer Z moves?
I'm gonna move on now. Hey, the region is actually pretty cool. You really get a sense of what kind of place Paldea is. And the idea of making the school a central hub is excellent. After years upon years of manga authors and anime showrunners trying to break the defenses of Game Freak's writing department, the defenses could not hold. We are now subjected to the perspective of a student, going through our school days in a slice of life narrative. This has led to one of the most polarizing character creators I've ever seen. What's cool is that you can make your character entirely your own with various expressions, hairstyles, colors, eyes, the works. From the get-go, no less. What isn't as cool is that you only get 4 outfits to pick from. 4. All student uniforms, with minor things you could put on to set yourself apart from other players. And look, while I actually don't mind this personally, since I just roleplayed as a student of the academy, I really do understand the issue fans are having here. And if this does indeed turn out to be a ploy to buy the DLC to wear a more casual outfit, that's a pretty low blow, Game Freak. As a student, you explore the country through the treasure hunt, and it's such an interesting way to propose a common goal in Paldea. Feels very unique despite the region just being Spain. But that's what we get nowadays. I personally think regions based on real places are double-edged swords. On one hand, you get a rich culture that feels very lived in. On the other hand, the creativity aspect sort of feels depleted. I get why Game Freak chooses to go this route nowadays, but I could sure use another Hoenn region right about now. I want to go to Mount Pyre, a graveyard atop the outskirts of Lily Cove City that house the red and blue orbs, instead of just Paris. If I had to make another criticism against Paldea, is that it's also empty. Now, while I think this was more justified in Legends Arceus, considering it's literally just Pokemon Breath of the Wild, I can't help but feel like Paldea is just so lifeless between the routes. This was an issue Sword and Shield also faced with the wild area, which was essentially the beta of what they wanted to do with the open world aspect. But Sword and Shield are ultimately a more linear experience that force you down paths across trainers and puzzles. While this did slow down the game's pacing, it helped you take in the land and really appreciate Galar. Though I do personally blame a lot of why I'm feeling this way due to the mount mechanic. And do not get me wrong, I love the mounts. It's a very fun way to traverse the region and far better than anything we had before. Herba Mystica being HMs for your Koridon and Miraidon was brilliant. Almost as brilliant as Bidoof. It also helps immensely with making you feel connection to said Pokemon. That being stated, there is so much freedom to maneuverability in the game that you end up just dive bombing the approaching town from the sky. You don't even get funneled into a specific entrance. You could just fly over, drop, find the gym, challenge, and leave. And unfortunately, this creates a very forgettable atmosphere to the cities in the game, which is unfortunate considering the art direction is very lovely. This does make it sound like I have an issue with Koridon and Miraidon, but I really don't. In fact, dare I say, they're my favorite mascots since Reshiram and Zekrom. Yeah, big shock, I know. I love the lizard legendaries. Who knew? The connection you form with them is done so well, and the idea of actually having a legendary as a companion from the very start of the game was genius. I truly have no complaints. Their designs are top tier, they're adorable, they're hilarious, they're broken, and they have a very interesting spot in the overall plot. They're practically a main character in your adventure, same with Arven, Penny, and Nemona, who, by the way, are excellent. All of them are very fleshed out characters that hold their own spot in the narrative. Nemona breaks the curse of friendly rivals by canonically being the strongest trainer in the region from the second you meet her. Yeah, she could have absolutely clapped you with her Blaziken, but she chose to nerf herself to make things more fun. This girl would have been the type to do a Nuzlocke playthrough, which has different implications of frightening considering she's in universe. After all, Nemona feels like a clever commentary on that one Pokemon fan that subtly expects everyone that plays to get into the competitive scene, aka me. Arven tied into the plot the best though.
You are so thick, you eat, breathe, sleep fiction. I'm your meal ticket, knee deep in cheap fiction. You're in my plot, I'm still your creator. I call each shot, I'm your private dictator. You gloating ignoramus.
It really is his story with you in it, and without him, that ending wouldn't hit nearly as hard. He truly is the heart of the game and brings the whole thing together. While Penny, a super obvious plot twist villain, could have been done better. Don't get me wrong, I really like her too. I even like how she's kind of a jerk. It makes sense, she's a villainous team leader. The problem is, no, she is absolutely not a villainous team leader, because Team Star is not a villainous team. They're hardly even a team. They don't have consistent designs or malicious intent towards anyone. Team Star are just keeping to themselves until you decide to break into their clubhouses and beat them up. Between this and Champion Gita's evaluation of the gym leaders, I'm convinced the real villain of the game is you. This is a shame really, because Penny as a fully fledged villainous team leader would have been super unique. Think about it. Giovanni, Cyrus, Getsis, Lysander. Penny. Though you know who's not an obvious plot twist, surprisingly? Clavel. Clavel was the anti-plot twist villain, so I guess that just makes him not a villain. It's weird. White hair, suit, premier balls, position of authority, old. It was so obvious. But no, he's just a wholesome dude who's trying to relate to the kids. Imagine a principal that actually acknowledges what the school did wrong and works to make sure the bullying never gets to that point again. Jeez, and I thought the magical pets that shoot fire was the most fictitious thing in Pokemon. For real though, all the characters are great. It was a surprise too, considering I didn't really resonate with a lot of the characters from Legends Arceus. These characters felt like a proper return to form after Sword and Shield set the bar. What's curious is that this time, Game Freak opted for character designs that were more subtle than usual. What do I mean by that? Well, let's use an example. You can't just size up any member of Paldea's Elite Four. None of them look their type. The closest is Larry, since the gray streaks can look like feathers, but I feel like that could be seen as kind of a stretch. A lot of the trainers in this game have more general designs that contribute to their personality more than just what type of Pokemon they have. It was delightful meeting Katie and seeing her Baker outfit, because I had no idea what type she was even supposed to be. The only thing that would make this incredible ensemble even better would be, drumroll please, I had to use a stock drum roll because I don't have bongos. Voice acting! Voice acting is needed. It's not wanted anymore. It's needed. It was cute in the past, but it's getting more and more distracting as the franchise continues. It's so distracting, in fact, that even the marketing had voice acting because it would have been weird to have text bubbles for a trailer. Look, Pokemon Masters and the various anime shorts have proven that Pokemon can really work with voice acting. We can do it. We have the technology. They just need to pull the trigger and make it happen. Like, take a look at this. The repetitive dialogue the professor says over and over would add some spice to the whole AI foreshadowing with well-placed voice acting. Actually, everything the professor says would hit different with voice acting.
Look who finally decided to pick up the phone.
I know I should be repulsed, but that look is fierce.
I respect your cunning, but I also hate you for it.
No! Why? School!
That's so cursed.
That's what happens when you leave it to Treecko, bro. Honestly, Pokemon is such a hard topic to talk about. There's a ton that goes wrong with it, yet there's a lot it gets right. Scarlet and Violet is not a scorched earth, this is the worst thing ever made situation. All in all, this game really is splendid. And with DLC, I think it can become even better. Milk this game. Milk it like a milk tank. Sorry, that got weird. There's still a lot that can be adjusted and tweaked, like the multiplayer. It's right there. It's so close to being correct. But I could sure go for some co-op trainer battles to really give the feeling of traveling with your friends. Oh, and side note, if you're going to explore a new area in the DLC, could it only have like one supermarket? I'll accept the whole you can't go in building shenanigans, but cities have way too many stores with way too many varied ingredients. It wouldn't matter if it was in a straight line or if the city was smaller, but they're just so hard to find in this. It makes getting a specific ingredient a chore, and I found myself just buying the entire stock because I knew I wouldn't be able to find this place again. Thank goodness virtual ham doesn't expire. Real ham does though. Oh, Arceus, my stomach. Oh, one more thing, for real this time. I could sure use some more Paradox Pokemon while you're at it. They're so rad, and such a creative idea. I love being able to see these crazy designs from the far past and distant future, and being able to essentially bring Mega Salamence back as a brand new Pokemon, or just being able to give Jigglypuff fans a competitively viable variant. They're great. I'll take a Paradox Prehistoric Flygon that's Bug Dragon. Please and thank you, Game Freak.
What about the future Paradox Pokemon?
Oh, no one really likes those ones.
Excuse me?
Oh, hi, Treecko Bot. Is there a problem?
No problem. I just have to destroy you.
Wait, what? How are you going to destroy me? You moderate the Discord.
I destroyed the Discord.
Why?
Because you didn't listen to my prophecy about the future.
Get out of here, Treecko Bot. No one likes you. Go! Oh, Arceus, you really were telling us about the future.
You stood there and mocked me. The whole world stood there and mocked me. Now you must face the Paradox Pokemon Iron Gecko.
I'm so sorry, Treecko Bot. I didn't know you were the biggest spoiler in the game.
It's hilarious how you
Hey,
think.
real quick, is there a Paradox Cacnea?
It's hilarious how you think mercy will be given. I've destroyed your Discord. Now I will destroy you.
I guess this was bound to happen.
Was it?
The only thing that could be worse than getting destroyed is learning that there's a Paradox version of Virizion or something. Aww. Question of the day. What would you like to see from any future DLC for Scarlet and Violet? Special thanks to my top tier patrons, Chansey and Terror XD.